we're actually meeting here. It's 9:42.
Mishuash. You asked me about this. I know.
I know. I know. I was being literally in the sense that I knew the answer to that question.
Oh yeah, I really like it. I don't look at the translation.
You know, I really do think that I kind of agree with the English instructions as well. But I mean, I think this is not
I'm not saying we shouldn't ever do responsive reading.
right.
I'm just saying there is a tension in doing responsive reading. And like, I think, everybody.
We'll talk more. Yeah, we'll talk more.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Congregation Agudat Achim's live stream and in-person Shabbat morning service. The watch that's on my stender I know is a couple minutes off, but I can't remember whether it's a couple minutes in which direction.
9:46 is the time.
So a couple minutes slow, so we're going to start now. My name is Rabbi Rafi Spitzer. It's a pleasure to welcome you, whether you're sitting here in the sanctuary or whether you're participating in our service by live stream. We welcome all participants in our service. This is my son Jonah, sitting here taking his morning nap. Joe Shang is going to be starting us off with our Shacharit service. You can follow along. We're in the full Sidur Sim Shalom. This is the one that we've been using during this time of pandemic, so that people only needed to get one Sidur, and you can follow along with us beginning on page 54 with Baruch She'amar. Please rise for Baruch She'amar, page 54.
Baruch She'amar L'chai Olam, Baruch Hu, Baruch Oseh V'Reshit, Baruch V'Yomer Yoseh, Baruch Ozeh Uchayim, Baruch V'Yochem Haaretz, Baruch V'Yochem HaBriot, Baruch Meshalem Sachar Tov L'Reyav, Baruch Haylayad V'Kayam Netzach, Baruch Kodei Umatzil, Baruch Shemo.
Baruch Atah Adonai Melech HaOlam.
Yachrid Ha'olamim, Melech Mishmubak, Mifor Adiyat Shemo, Hagato, Baruch Atah Adonai, Melech Mehulal, Batishbachot.
We continue with Nishmat, page 334, page 334. You may be seated.
Nishmat Kol Chai, Titvarek et Simcha Adonai Eloheinu, V'ruach Kol Basar Tifarer, V'toram V'zachem, Malkeinu Tamid. Necharecha, unshak bevachacha, nevarecha, nevarecha, nevarech etchem kachecha kamor, le David barchi nashi et Adonai, v'kol karvai etchem kacho, ha'el betatmutu zecha, hagadol b'chvod shemecha, הגבור לנצח והנורא בנורותיך, המלך היושב על כיסא רם ונישא.
The formal chanting of Shacharit begins in the middle of page 336 with the words Shochen Ad.
שוכן עד מרום וקדוש שמו, וכתוב עניים צדיקים באדוני, ושרים נאווה תהילה, ובפרי שרם תתהלל, דברי צדיקים תתברך, ולשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש. ומחלות ריבות עמך בית ישראל, ברינת פרעה שמך מלכנו בכל דור ודור. שכן חובת כל הצור מפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו, להודות לך לשבח, לפאר לרומם לחדר, לברך לעולם ולחלץ, על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי עבדך משיחך.
Please rise for Yishtabach, page 338.
ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול וקדוש בשמיים וארץ, כי לאדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו שירו שחל למזברה עוז ממשלה, נצח גדולה וגברה, תהילה תפארת קדוש ומלכות. ברכות והודות מעתה ועד העולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול ותשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אלוהי העולמים.
Hatzi Kaddish, page 338.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
במה דברכותי ומלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בהגלה, בהגלה, ובזמן קריב, אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם מעולמי עולמיה, יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה ריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירה בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
The call to worship, Baruch Hu, page 340.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. Amen.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. Le'olam va'ed.
may be
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Yotzer u'or choshek. Osei shalom. Borei et hakol.
You may be seated as we continue with the blessings before Kriyat Shema, page 340.
הכל ידוך וככל ישפכוך וכל יאמרו אין קדוש כאדוני. הכל בנפשלה יוצא הכל. Anchor Adonai Eloheinu b'olam hazeh v'yein zu l'tata malkeinu l'chayei olam haba efes b'lhago aleinu limot HaMashiach v'yein dome lecha moshienu v'chiyat hametim El Adonai Adon al kol hamasim baruch mevorach befi kol nishama godlo v'tuva malei olam tat v'tura v'sava v'imotav Amika chayot HaKodesh neratar v'chodal mirkava זהות משור לפני חיסו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו, טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו יצרם בדעת וברוח השכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בכם להיות מושיעים בקרב תבל. מאמצה ומכנוגה נעזבה בכל העולם שמחים בסתם ויעשים ויובם עושים בהם הרצון קונם פייר חבוד נוטים לשמוס על הרינה לזכר מלכותו קרא לשמש ויפרח אורה התקין סובלת הלבנה שבח נוטים לו כוסף המהרום תפארת וגדולה שרפים ואופנים וחיות הקודש זהו אשר שבת מכל המעשים תתברך מושיענו השבח מעשה ידיך ויעל מאור שעשית יפרוך הסלע תתברך שרינו מלכנו וגואלנו בורא קדושים השתבח מלכנו ושבת כולם רבים, כולם גברים, כולם גברים וכולם עושים בהם הארץ ויראה את צנקנם וכולם פותחים את פיכם קדושה וטהרה ושירה וזמרה מברכים ושבחים ופארים ועריצים ומקדישים וממלכים את שם האל המלך הגדול הגיבור הנורא הקדוש הוא וכולם מלכיהם עליהם מלכות שמיים זה מזה ונותנים רשות זה לזה ליוצרה ונחת רוח ושפה ברורה ועימה קדושה כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלך הארץ כבודו ויופני וחיות הקודש בראש גדול מנסים לעומת צרכים לעומת המשבחים ואומרים ברוך אדוני ממקומו ליאל ברוך נמות ייתנו למלך אל חי וקיים זמרות יאמרו ותשבחות ישמיעו כי הוא אדוני כי הוא לבדו כל גבורות עושה חדשות ועל מלחמות זורח תמיד מעשה בראשית כאמור לסתרים גדולים כי לעולם הסדו אור חדש על ציון תאיר ונזכה כולנו מהר לאורו ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות
Page 346.
אהבה רבה אהבתנו אדוני אלוהינו כמלה גדולה ותורה כמלת עלינו אבינו מלכנו בעבור אבותינו שבתו בך אבינו מלכנו ועד למדך חיים כן תחמדנו חמדנו אבינו האב הרחמן הרחם רחם עלינו ותן בליבנו להבינו להשכיל לשמוע ללמוד וללמד לשמור ולעשות ובקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה והעלינו בתורתך ודבקנו במצוותיך ויחד לבבינו באהבה ויראה את שמך אלוהינו נבוש קודשך, הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה נשמחה בשורתך. והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, תוכיחנו קוממיות לארצנו, כי אל כל הישועות אתה, ובאנו לך אתה מכל לשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע סלע באמת, להודות לך וידך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. אהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבך, ושננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ושבתך וקומך ושרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, ונתת על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. והיה ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ועבדת אחיהם, ויעשו לכם ציצית על כתפי בגדיכם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף בתכלת, והיה להם ציצית, וראיתם אותו. וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתן זונים עליכם. למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת, אמת ויציב, נכון וקיים, ישר נאמן, ויחור חביב נאמן.
350.
אמת, אלוהינו ואלוהים מלכנו, סורי הכל, מגנו שותנו. לדור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים, וכיסו נכון ומלכותו, ואמונתו ליד קיימת. ודוריו חיים וקיימים, נאמנים נכבדים ליד לעולמים. אמת ואמונתו. אמת שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואבותינו מלכנו מלך אבותינו גואלנו גואל אבותינו יוצרנו שושותינו פודנו מצילנו מעולם שמך אין אלוהים זולתך עזרת אבותינו אתה הוא מעולם מגן ושעון מהם הרי כל עבדו שערת אשר יש אמת התור אמת התור ראשון והתור אחרון. על זאת שהוא החורים Shivuru Achuvim, Veromemu, 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 El, Veromemu, 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 El. Not nu yadidim, not nu yadidim, Smirot, Shirot, V'tishbachot, Brachot, V'hodaot, Lemelech El Chai V'kayam, Ram V'nisa, Gadol V'nora, Mashpilgim, Umakbiak Sephalihim, Motzi Asirim, Ufodei Anavim, V'yozedalim, Yone Leamo, B'yet Shalom Elav, Tilot Lelyon, Baruch Be'orah, Moshe V'nei Yisrael, Lechanu Shira, V'simcha Rabba V'yeruchulam, Mi chamocha, Ba'elim Adonai, Mi kamocha, Nedar B'kodesh, Nora Tilot, Osef Ele, Shirat Hadasha, Shivchu Gulim, Shivchala Svatayam, Yachad Kulam Hodu, V'chimluhu V'yamru, Adonai Yimlok Le'olam
We
Va'ed.
rise for Tzor Yisrael, page 352, followed by the Amidah for Shabbat morning, which we begin together with Joe on page 354, and following the Kedusha, continue with the individual whispered Amidah.
Tzor Yisrael, Kuma B'ezrat Yisrael, Uvadei Chedumecha, Yehuda v'Yisrael, Go Aleinu, Adonai Savat Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chazdei Avot, Omi Goel V'nechem, L'mad Shemo B'yava, Melech Ozer Chokeru Mashiach U'Magin, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magid Avraham U'Chokei Tzara, Atah Gibor Le'el Adonai, Mechlei Mitim Atah Rav Yoshia, Mashiv Aruach Marid HaGashem, Mechelchel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayei Meitim Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Rerofei Cholim, Umatir Asorem, Umekayem Emunato, L'Shenei Achah, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umidol Melech, Melech Memit Umechayeh, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hametim. Nekadesh Shem Havalam, Keshem Shemakti Shemoto Bishmei Marom, Kakatu V'ayad V'yecha, V'karazel Zeh V'yomar.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevot, Melech Haaretz Kevodo.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevot, Melech Haaretz Kevodo. Asbekor Gadol, Adir Hazak Mashmim Kol, Nitnasim Yumat Rafim, Yumatam Baruch Yomeru.
Baruch Adonai Mikvamon.
kedu tofia, vetimlok aleinu. Ki machachni manachnu, machakim anachnu lach, matai timlok betzion, v'karab b'yameinu, le'olam va'ed tishkan, titgadal v'titgadash, v'toch Yerushalayim yircha, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לנצח נצחים, ועינינו תראנה מלכותך, כדבר חמור ושירי עוזך, על ידי דוד משיח צדקך. The door, hallelujah. The door, nagid, God lecha. The netzach netzach nakish. Shechal hinu mipino lo yumush leolam vaed. Ki el melekaro v'kadosha ata. Baruch atah Adonai. Ha'el hakadosh.
If you haven't completed your individual whispered Amidah, please continue davening. We join together for Kaddish Alem, page 392.
Gravigrash me Rabbah.
Amen.
V'ma devrach yotev l'mikmah v'tebach hayachon v'yomachon v'chayilcho v'Yisrael v'galazman kari v'maru.
Amen.
Yehesh me Rabbah mevorak le'olam me'ol maya yitbarak. Yitbarak v'shbak v'tvar v'tramam v'naseh v'tadar v'talev v'talash me'dekodasharu. Le'la min kol birchata v'shiata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran b'yoma v'maru.
Amen.
Take a lot to Havachon, the Koisrael, Kanavachon, the Vishmaya Vimaru.
Amen.
Yesh Lama Rabba Min Shemaya, Vachaim Aleinu, Vialko Yisrael Vimaru.
Amen.
O say Shalom B'Ramav, Huya say Shalom, Aleinu Vialko Yisrael Vimaru. Amen.
We continue with the Psalm for Shabbat, page 32.
Hayom Yom Shabbat Kodesh, Shavua Yolavim Omrim Beit HaMikdash. Tzadikata Marifra Kieres Bavanot Yiske Shetulim Bevet Adonai Bechatrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Od Yenuvun Beseva Desheni Verananim Yeyo Lechagid Ki Ashar Adonai Sori Ve'oav Latavo.
Kadish Avelim, page 52. Yitgadal, V'yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah,
Amen.
Ve'alma Divra Kirutei, Ve'amlich Malchutei, V'chayechon Uvyomechon Uv'chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael, V'agala Uvizman Kariv V'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'alam Lamei Almayah. Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitba'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shmei Dekudesha Brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom mimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Shabbat shalom. Welcome to Congregation Agudat Achim's in-person and live stream Shabbat morning service. I'm Rabbi Rafi Spitzer. This Shabbat is here in the United States what Art Friedson likes to call a vanilla Shabbat. We're not taking out 2 Sifrei Torah, not 2 Torah scrolls. We're not doing Hallel. We're just doing a regular Shabbat service. Of course, if we were in Jerusalem, I would not be able to say that. In Jerusalem, they are observing what we call Purim Mishulash, a threefold Purim. Threefold Purim because when Purim falls on a Friday, and usually in Jerusalem they then celebrate Purim the day after that Friday, but because that's Shabbat, it actually causes the mitzvot of Purim that we all do on one day, that we do in the diaspora on one day, it spreads them out over 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So on Friday, they have the mitzvah of reading the Megillah on Thursday night and Friday, and the mitzvah of matanot le'evyonim, of giving gifts to the poor. Then on Shabbat, they say al hanisim for Purim, which we did yesterday. They add the special liturgical additions. And then on Sunday, they are responsible for Mishloach Manot, giving the packages of food to your friends, and the Purim Suda, the festive meal. So those are all the mitzvot of Purim. When Purim falls on Friday, they get it spread over 3 days. The weirdest thing about that, as my mother pointed out to me, which I had never really thought about, is that when they do their Purim Suda, and they then do Birkat HaMazon at the end of their Purim Suda, they do not add Al Hanisim, because they added Al Hanisim on the actual day of Shushan Purim, of Persian Purim, the walled city Purim, which is today, Shabbat. So very interestingly, the mitzvot are pulled out. But that's not our case. Our case is the case of a very regular Shabbat service. It's my pleasure to welcome everybody to join in our service with us today, whether you're in person in the sanctuary or whether you're joining us and participating by live stream. We are going to move to the Torah service, and I just want to point out a couple of things that we're doing that has now become our custom. We begin our Torah service with Hagbah, so that if you are honored with an aliyah to the Torah, you have the opportunity to have a visual recognition, to see the words of the Torah before you come up for your honor. and those people who come up, who are honored with aliyot to the Torah, say the blessings from the stender at the base of the bima, as opposed to coming up onto the bima. Because I am the first Torah reader today, I will be the one who takes the Torah out of the ark and does Hagba. And so Joe, who has been leading us in Shacharit, Yasher Koach, and who is going to be leading us in the Torah service, will clean the table before I come to put the Torah on it, so that everything is that our dance is all kosher. Yeah. With that, we continue with the Seder Hotza'at Torah, the service for taking the Torah out of the ark, page 394.
Shushan in Purim, where the king is not into decorum. Yes, it's Shushan. Oh, sorry, I just had to get that out. Okay, page 394. I'll try to get my kavanah back. Elohim Adonai v'kevasecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai yimlok le'olam va'ed Adonai oz le'amo yiten Adonai Yivarech et amo v'shalom av harachamim heitiv aretzocha et Zion Tifnei chomot Yerushalayim Tifnei chomot Yerushalayim Kilecha levad batakno melech eram venisa adon olamim.
We rise as the ark is open.
Vayivetz Aaron vayomer Moshe kumar Adonai v'yafutzu v'yavecha Ve'anusu misanecha mipanecha ki mitzion tetze Torah ki mitzion tetze Torah udevar Adonai mirushalayim Baruch shenatan Torah Baruch shenatan Torah, le'amo Yisrael, b'hikdashata, v'shema de'ar alma. Be'anarachet, be'lishme kadisha yakira, ana emar tushbehad, yeherava kadalma, de'tiftach libi v'yaraita, etashlimu shalim, de'libi, Leviba lechol amach Yisrael, letavu chayim, ve'lishlav. Amen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad.
Bracha, V'aminase L'chol Erosh, Romimu, Adonai Eloheinu, V'ishtachavu, This morning we are reading from Parashat Tetzaveh, which you can find on page 508. Page 508, at the very bottom of that page, verse 31. What did you miss? Well, you missed some more of the explanation of the construction of the Beit HaMikdash, and you also missed the beginning of the description of the garments of the priests. I'm going to ask you to please rise for Hagba. Be seated. Page 508, verse 31. Vayazor v'yagin v'yoshia l'chol ha'chusim bo v'nomar amen hakol havu b'rolenu nekavod ha'torah tamod
Gila bat Moshe aliyah rishona baruch shnatan torah l'am Yisrael b'kedushato Atem hadvekim b'alechem chaim kulchem hayom. Baruch et Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach le'olam ba'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach le'olam ba'ed. Baruch et Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch et Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ve'asita et me'il haifod kalil techelet ve'haya pi rosho b'tocho safa yeh le'piv saviv maseh oreg kifi tachra yelo lo yikareya ve'asita al shulav Rimonei techelet vargaman v'tolat shani al shulav saviv upamonei zahav v'tocham saviv pamon zahav v'rimon al shulei hameil saviv v'haya al aharon l'sharet V'nishma kolo b'bo el hakodesh lifnei Adonai u'v'tzeito v'lo yamud.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet b'chayei lama nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yamud.
Nachman ben Avraham Achunen.
Nachman ben Avram Alchunin Sheni. The second aliyah can be found on page 509, verse 36.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ve'asita tzitz zahav tahor ufitakta alav pituchei chotam kodesh l'Adonai ושמתה אותו על פתיל תכלת, והיה על המצנפת אל מול פני, והיה על המצנפת אל מול פני המצנפת יהיה, והיה על מצח אהרון, ונשא אהרון את עוון הקודשים, אשר יקדישו בני ישראל לכל מתנות קודשיהם, והיה על מצוות תמיד לרצון להם לפני אדוני.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natah b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yamod Avi Mori Aram Ben Shmuel V'Gila Shalishi. The third aliyah can be found on page 510, verse 39.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. V'shibatzta hakutonet sheish, v'asita mitznefet sheish, v'avneit ta'aseh maseh rokeim, v'livnei Aharon ta'aseh kutonot, v'asita lahem avneitim, u'migbaot ta'aseh lahem lechavod u'tifaret, v'hilbashta otam et Aron achicha v'et panav ito, umashachta otam umileita et yadam v'kidashta otam v'chianu lihi v'aseh lahem michnesei vad v'chasot v'sar erva mimot naim v'adirei chaim yihiyu v'hayu al Aron v'al banav b'voam el ohel moed v'gishtam el hamizbeach l'sharet b'kodesh v'lo yisu avon v'ametu chukat olam lo uzaro hacharav.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natah b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Oh, it's my pleasure that my father, Jeff Spitzer, is able to be with us this week, helping us to take care of our infant son. And this is his first time in shul in a year. And it's a pleasure to welcome him to be able to also read Torah, which he loves doing and hasn't been able to do. So, Yamod. Dan Moshe ben Chaim Benani, Arivi. You can follow along with the fourth aliyah on page 511, chapter 29, verse 1.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
זה הדבר אשר תעשה להם לקדש אותם לכהן לי לקח פר אחד בן בקר ואלים שניים תמימים ולחם מצות וחלות מצות ולופ השמן ורקיקי מצות משוחים משמן סול חיטים תעשה אותם ונתת אותם ונתת אותם על סל אחד ויקרבת אותם בסל ואת הפרת שני האלים ואת ארון מפניו תקריב אל פתח המועד.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natah b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Rina bat Abraham Vekila.
Rina bat Abraham Vekila. Aliyah. Revi'it. Aliyah Chamishit. We're going to read the Chamishi Aliyah from chapter 29, verse 4, which begins, Ve'et Aharon ve'et banav takriv. Go back to the beginning of that verse. Got it.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Midarom banav takriv el petach u'moed v'rachatzotam b'mayim v'lakachta et ha'begadim v'yavashta et Aaron et hakutonet v'et me'il ha'ifod v'et ha'ifod v'et ha'choshen v'afareta lo b'cheshev ha'ifod v'samta mitznefet al rosho v'natata et nezer kodesh ala mitznafet v'lakachta et shemet ולקחת את שמן משחה ויצקת על ראשו ומשכת אותו ומשכת אותו ואת בניו תקריב ויבשתם כותנות וחגרת אותם אבנית אהרון ובניו וחבשת להם מגבעות והייתה להם כהונה כהונת עולם ומילאת יד אהרון ויד בניו.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah temet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ta'amod.
Eliyahu V'Kela.
Shishi, the sixth Aliyah can be found on page 512, chapter 29, verse 10.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
הקרבת את הפר לפני אוהל ושמח אהרון ובניו את ידיהם על ראש הפר ושחטת את הפר לפני אדוני פתח אוהל ולקחת מדם הפר ונתת על קרנות המזבח באצבעך ואת כל הדם תשפוך אל יסוד המזבח ולקחת את כל החלב ומכסה את הקרב ואת היותרת על הכבד ואת שתי הכליות ואת החלב אשר עליהן והקטרת המזבחה ואת בשר הפר ואת אורו ואת פרשו תשרוף באש מחוץ למחנה חטאתו.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ya'amod. Aryeh ben Aryeh Vester. Shvi'i. The seventh Aliyah can be found on page 513, chapter 29, verse 15.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
ואת האיל האחד תיקח ושמחו אהרון ובניו את ידיהם על ראש האיל ושחטת את האיל ולקחת את דמו וזרקת על המזבח סביב ואת האיל תנתח לנתחיו ורחצת קרבו רעב ונתת על נתחיו ועל ראשו והקטרת את כל האיל המזבחה Olahu Ladonai Reach Lichoach Yishel
Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'dochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Oh, at this time, as has become our custom, we are going to say the Gomel blessing in honor of all of those in our community that were privileged to receive the second COVID shot this week. As I said last week, and which I say again, I know that there are many folks who are still struggling to even get the first shot, and that there are many possible ways to feel with regard to our celebrating of the privilege and relief that we feel when we receive the second shot. I acknowledging that and having that be a part of our consciousness, I also think that there's a spiritual positive in marking this moment, the moment of relief for those of us who have been privileged to receive the second shot of the COVID-19 vaccine, and who are together working to create a society that is more and more safe from the spread of this disease, which has impacted our lives so much over the last year. So if you are a person for whom this category falls, whether you're in the sanctuary or joining by live stream, please rise, and we can follow along with the Gomel blessing on page 402 in the Siddur. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hagomel l'chayavim tovot shegmalani kol tuv. Amen. Mishugmacha kol tuv, hu yigmacha kol tuv selah. May God, who has been gracious to you, continue to favor you with all that is good. And we rise as our ark is open for the healing prayer. Yes. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Avatinu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Yivrech V'Yirpei Acholim, Et Shai Aviad ben Balfura, Vet Fegalea bat Minsasura, Vet Shalom ben Chaya, Vet Rochel bat Avram, Vet Andrew Francis Parisi, Vet Yehudit bat Reuven Berezel, Vet Sharon Nachama bat Reuven Berezel, Vet Gabriel Mordechai ben Pessi, Vet Omari Gray, Vet Chaya bat Dvorah, Vet Leah bat Dvorah, Vet Yakira bat Dvorah, Vet Bluma bat Gittel, Vet Dina bat Fegla, Vet Eliza bat Dina, Vet Akiva ben Gittel, Vet Miriam bat Malka, Vet Eliyahu ben Malka, Vet Bracha bat Batya, Vet Miriam bat Sarah, Vet Menachem Mendel ben Zipporah, Vet Gershom ben Leah, Vet Robert Borshowitz, Vet Yoreh bat Avram Vesara, Vet Kyle Scheffler, Vet Cecilia Lynn, Vet Michal Ruth bat Tova, Vet Linda Pearlstein, Vet Robert Pearlstein, Vet Michael Roberts, Vet Eric Hurst, Vet Riva Bela bat Reza, Vet Sima Freda bat Chanayenta, Vet Chana Sora bat Susha Nachama, Vet Shlomo Moshe ben Miriam, Vet Yitamasha bat Rachel, Vet Dylan Middleton, Vet Kol HaCholim B'Gilag Gasha Zot HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachlim Aleihem L'Achzikam L'Rapotam B'Shvach Lahem Meira Refuah Shema Min HaShamayim Refuat HaNefesh Refuat HaGuf L'Chol Ivreihem V'Gideihem B'Toch Shar Chol HaYisrael V'Ha'olam V'Chezek Et Yedei HaOskim B'Tzorcheihem Shabbatim Yilzok V'Ha'Refuah Krava Lavo Hashta Bagalav Ezman Kariv V'Nomar Amen. Nishebeirachimotenu Mekor habracha lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Yitkada Shimei Rabba, Ve'amadi Rafir Tevi Amlif Malchutei, Ve'chaye Chonu V'yomechon, U'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, Bagala, U'bizman Kariv, Zimeru, Amen. Yeshmei Rabba Mevarach, Le'alam Almaya Yitbarach V'ishtabach V'itbar V'itramam V'naseh V'itadar V'italev V'italal Shmei Grisha Berichu Le'ila Mikol B'chata V'shirata Tushvechata V'nechemata Damiran Me'alma V'meru Amen. Yamod Micha ben Avram V'Sara, Maftir Kriyat Haftarah. The Maftir Aliyah can be found on page 513, chapter 29, verse 15. Page 513.
Baruch Hu Adonai HaBorach. Baruch Nevarach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai, noten ha'torah.
Amen.
V'eta'aylecha tikach v'samechu Aaron v'nav, et yidehem al rosh ha'ayil, v'shachatta et ha'ayil, v'lakachta et damo, וזרחת על מזבח סביב, ואת העיל תנתח לנתחיו, ורחצת קרבו וקרעיו, ונתת על נתחיו, ועל ראשו, והקטרת את כל העיל המזבחה, ולהו לאדוני ריח ניחוח יישב לאדוני הוא. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah temet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'torah.
Amen. At this time, my father is going to do Galila just on the table. And after you've wrapped the Torah, just put it on the thing there and wipe down the table. While Galila is going on, let me introduce the Haftarah, which can be found on page 520. The Haftarah for Parashat Tetzaveh comes from the book of Ezekiel and contains Ezekiel's version of of some of the laws and this idea of renewal. You'll recognize Ezekiel's instructions for putting together the altar, very similar to the ones that we received in last week's Torah portion and this week's Torah portion, and a little bit about the purification and ordination of the priests. It makes an obvious connection between these passages from Ezekiel and our Torah portion, which is so much about the ordination of the priests. You can find that on page 520, and Steve will be chanting the... Perfect.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'vim tovim, v'ratzah v'divreihem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, Abocher b'Torah, u'Moshe avdo, u'Yisrael amo, u'v'nvi'eh ha'emet v'tzedek. Ata v'nadam haged et Beit Yisrael et habayit vayikalmu me'avonotehem u'madedu et tochnit ve'im nichlemu mikol asher asu tzurat habayit udchunato umotzav umova'av v'chol tzurotav ve'et kol chukotav v'chol tzurotav v'chol torotav hoda'otam uktov leinehem v'yishmeru et kol tzurato ve'et kol chukotav ve'asuotam. Zot Torah tabayit al rosh hahar kol gevulo saviv saviv kodesh kodashim hine zot Torah tabayit ve'ela matnidot hamizbeach ba'amot ama vatofach ve'hecha ama ve'ama rochav ugvula el sfatah saviv zeret ha'echad ve'ze gav hamizbeach umechekaret al ha'azarah ha'tachtona shetehayim amot verochav ama echad umehazarah haktana al ha'azarah hagdolah arba amot verochav ha'ama V'hahar el arba amot umeha'ariel ulamala hakranot arba v'ha'ariel shneim esrei orech v'shneim esrei rochav ravuha el arba'at reva'av ve'ha'azarah arba esrei orech ve'arba esrei rochav el arba'at reva'echa ve'hagvuhu savivotah
חצי האמה, והחק לה האמה סביב, ומעלותיהו פנות קדים. ויאמר אלי בן אדם כה אמר אדוני אלוהים אלה חוקת המזבח ביום העשותו להעלות עליו עולה ולזרוק עליו דם. ונתת אל הכהנים הלוויים אשר הם מזרע צדוק הקרובים אלי נאום אדוני אלוהים לשרתני פר בן בקר לחטאת ולקחת מדמו ונתת על 4 קרנותיו ואל 4 פינות העזרה ואל הגבול סביב וכיתת אותו וכיפרתהו ולקחת את הפר החטאת ושרפו במפקד הבית מחוץ למקדש. וביום השני תקריב שעיר עזים תמים לחטאת והטעו את המזבח כאשר הטעו בפר. בחלותיך מחטא תקריב פר בן בקר תמים ואיל מן הצאן תמים והקרבתם לפני אדוני והשליכו הכהנים עליהם מלח והעלו אותם עולה לאדוני. 7 ימים תעשה שעיר חטאת ליום ופר בן בקר ואיל מן הצאן תמימים יעשו. 7 ימים יכפרו את המזבח וטיהרו אותו ומילאו ידיו ויכלו את הימים והיה ביום השמיני והלאה יעשו הכהנים על המזבח את עולותיכם ואת שלמיכם ורציתי אתכם נאום אדוני אלוהים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם צור כל העולמים צדיק בכל הדורות האל הנאמן האומר ועושה המדבר ומקיים שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ונאמנים דבריך ודבר אחד מדבריך אחור לא ישוב ריקם כי אל מלך נאמן ורחמן אתה ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו
האל הנאמן בכל דבריו רחם על ציון כי היא בית חיינו ולעלובת נפש תושיע במהרה בימינו ברוך אתה אדוני Mesameach Zion bevaneha.
Amen.
Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu be'Eliyahu Hanavi Avdecha U'malchut Beit David Meshichecha Bimhera Yavo ve'yagel libenu Al kisolo yeshev zar ve'lo yinchalu od achirim et kevodo Ki v'shem kodshecha nishbata lo shelo yikbe nero le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Magen David
Amen.
Al HaTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'nevi'im ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnucha lechavod u'letifaret Al ha'kol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach u'mevarchim otach yitbarach shimcha b'fi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat
Amen. Yasher Kol to Steve for chanting the Haftarah, and to Jeff Spitzer for reading Torah, and to Joe for leading us in Shachri. We continue with the blessings we seek, and then followed by that, Eli Moses is going to lead us in Musaf, beginning with Ashrei on page 420. The blessings we seek. Source of blessing, our guardian of hope, bless, we pray, all who are dear to us. Watch over them with your protecting love. Bless the people of this congregation. Grant them health of body and serenity of spirit. Guide them on the path of Torah and good deed. Bless our country, our leaders, and our fellow citizens. Keep us faithful to our heritage of freedom and justice. Help us banish all suffering and strife. Bless our brothers and sisters in the land of Israel. Prosper the work of their hands and minds. Strengthen them and grant them peace. Bless our fellow Jews wherever they may dwell. Comfort those who are in distress. Deliver them speedily from darkness to light. Bless all your children in every land and community. Unite them in understanding and mutual happiness. Hasten the day when all can rejoice in a world of peace. Page 420. Yeah.
Ashrei, Oshrei Veitecha, Od Yehalu Hasela.
Ashrei Ha'am Shekachalo, Ashrei Ha'am Shadonai Eloha.
Tehillah LeDavid, Aromim Chalohai, HaMelech, Rabach Hashim Chaleolam Va'ed. Gadol Adonai Hu Meod, V'lig Dulato Ein Cheker.
Dor Yishabach Masecha, Kuratecha Yagidu.
Hadar Kevod Hodecha, V'divrei Niflotecha Asicha.
Vezuz Nartecha Yomeru Tulacha Saprena.
Zecher Rav Tu Chayabiu, V'tzid Katcha Yiranenu.
Hanun Brachum Adonai Erech Apayim Ugdal Chafet.
Tov Adonai la kol brachaman al kol maasav.
Yoduch Adonai kol maasecha v'chasidecha yivarchucha.
Kevod malchutecha yomeru, ugvuratecha yedaberu.
Ve'odia livnei adam gvurotav v'chvod adahar malchuto.
Malchutecha malchut kol amimu memshaltecha b'chol dor v'ador.
Samech Adonai lechol hanoflim v'zokev lechol hakufim.
Einei kol elecha yisaberu ve'atanoten lahem et ochlam beito.
Poteach et yadecha umasbi alechol chayratzon.
Tzadik Adonai bechol deracha b'chasid bechol maasav.
Karov Adonai lechol korav lechol asher yikra'u be'emet.
Ritzon Yiriyah v'yaseh v'et Shabbatam yishma v'yoshiem.
Shomer Adonai et kol ohavav v'et kol harsha'im yashmin.
Tehillah Adonai yedaber pi v'varech kol basar shem kol shali elam va'ed.
V'anach yivarech yamei atah
Yad
yad
olam.
olam.
Yahalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav Shemo levado. Hodo aleret v'shamayim, vayarem keren leyamo. Tila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael, am karovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah, mizmor leDavid. Havul Adonai b'neim, Havul Adonai kavod, Havul Adonai kavod shemo, Hishtachavul Adonai b'hadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim, el hakavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim. Kol Adonai hakoach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arze halvan. Vayarkidem kemo egel, Levanon v'sirion, kemo v'nreimim. Kol Adonai chotzev lavot esh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, Vayachasov yarot, uv'hekulo kolo, Omer kavod. Adonai lamabu yashav vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Uvnucho yomar. Ki lekach tov natati lachem, Torati al tazovu. Heit chaim hi, lama chazikim ba, v'tom checha meyushar. Deracheha darchei noam, v'chol netivotecha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai, elecha v'nashuva. Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu, Chadesh Yameinu, keketem.
And be seated. Shabbat Shalom. The Shulchan Aruch, Code of Jewish Law, opens its discussion of the laws of Passover, Pesach, by stating that one must study Pesach 30 days before the holiday, which takes us back to the 14th of Adar, also known as Purim. The connection between these two festivals is further cemented by Rabbi Tabi's explanation in the Talmud of why we observe Purim in Adar Sheni during a leap year, because we are juxtaposing one redemption to another redemption. And although the redemption of Purim is hidden and the redemption of Pesach is revealed, the truth is that both festivals contain exoteric and esoteric meanings. I discussed last week that God's name is completely absent from the Megillah, emphasizing human actions and human achievements. Yet by the same token, Moshe's name is almost completely absent from the traditional text of the Haggadah, emphasizing divine actions and divine power. It is interesting, therefore, to note on this Shabbat of Purim Mishulash, Shabbat where we're continuing the feelings of Purim, that Moshe's name is completely absent from this week's Torah portion. Moshe, the hero, the leader, the liberator, the lawgiver, is off stage. And this is the only instance where the name of Moses is not mentioned at all, since the first parsha of the book of Shemot, in which Moses is born. Moshe has been a pretty constant figure in the Torah, from the beginning of Sefer Shemot till now, and continues to be after this parsha. Indeed, virtually the whole parsha is devoted to the role that Moses did not occupy except briefly, that of priest in general, high priest in particular. It's important that we have a parsha dedicated to the legacy of the priestly role for Judaism. However, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Zichrono Livracha, asked the question, need this focus on the priesthood have removed Moses from the passage entirely? Is there any larger significance to his absence? I liked the question, so I did a little bit of research. The commentators offered various suggestions. One answer to this question, given in the Talmud, refers to an event at the beginning of Moshe's leadership, his encounter with God at the burning bush. Moshe repeatedly expressed reluctance to undertake the mission of leading the people out of Egypt. Finally, we read, "But Moses said, 'O Lord, please send someone else to do it.' Then the Lord's anger burned against Moses. And God said, 'What about your brother Aaron the Levite? I know he can speak well. He is already on his way to meet you, and his heart will be glad when he sees you. You shall speak to him and put words in his mouth. I will help both of you to speak and will teach you what to do.'" The Talmud records a debate about the lasting consequences of that moment, when Moshe, as it were, refused one time too many. It's interesting to compare Moshe's repeated refusals of leadership with Esther's courage in rising to the needs of the moment. Yes, she too said, maybe it shouldn't be me. Said, if I go, I'm risking my own life. To decline a leadership challenge once or twice is a sign of humility. To continue to do so, especially when God is issuing the challenge, risks provoking divine anger. And indeed, Esther rose to the occasion and saved the Jewish people. The Talmud comments, "Then the Lord's anger burned against Moses." Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha said, "Every instance of divine anger in the Torah leaves a lasting effect except in this instance." Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said, "Here too it left a lasting effect. For it goes on to say, 'What about your brother Aaron the Levite?' Surely Aaron was a Kohen, not a Levite." Rather, what God meant was, I originally intended that you, Moshe, would be the Kohen, and that he, Aaron, would be merely a Levite. But now, because of your refusal, he will eventually become a Kohen, the priest, and you will be only a Levite. According to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the lasting effect of Moses' reluctance to lead was that one leadership role, the priesthood, would eventually go to Aaron rather than to Moshe himself. Basing himself on that passage, Rabbi Yaakov ben Asher suggests that Moshe's name is missing from Parashat Tetzaveh, which deals with the priestly garments, to spare him distress on seeing Aaron acquire all of the garments and insignia and symbols of status of the priesthood that might otherwise have been Moshe's own. However, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs provides a different answer. He teaches that there is another, more fundamental message in this absence of Moshe from this parsha. One of the recurring themes of Genesis is sibling rivalry, hostility between brothers. And here I'm drawing on the teachings of Rabbi Sachs. This story is told at ever-increasing length 4 times, between Cain and Abel, between Isaac and Ishmael, between Jacob and Esau, and between Joseph and his brothers. There is an identifiable pattern to this set of narratives, best seen in the way each ends. The story of Cain and Abel ends with murder, fratricide. Isaac and Ishmael, they grow apart, but they are seen together at Abraham's funeral. Eventually, there had been a reconciliation between them, though this can only be inferred and spelled out in the Midrash. It is not directly in the text. Jacob and Esau meet, they embrace, and they go their separate ways. That's in the text itself. Joseph and his brothers are reconciled and live together in peace, Joseph providing them with food, land, and protection. Genesis is telling us a story of great consequence. Brotherhood, siblinghood, is not simple or straightforward. It is often fraught with conflict and contention. Yet slowly, siblings can learn that there is another way. On this note, Genesis ends. But, Rabbi Sachs points out, it is not the end of the story. The drama has a 5th act, the relationship between Moses and Aaron. Here, for the first time, there is no hint of sibling rivalry. The brothers work together from the very outset of the mission to lead the Israelites to freedom. They address the people together. They stand together when confronting Pharaoh. They perform signs and wonders together. They share leadership of the people in the wilderness together. For the first time, brothers function as a team with different gifts, different talents, different roles, but without hostility, each complementing the other. Their partnership is a constant feature of the narrative, but there are certain moments where it is highlighted. The first occurs in the passage cited above, the one where that I shared before, when God tells Moses that Aaron is already on his way to meet you and his heart will be glad when he sees you. How different that is from the tense encounters between brothers in Genesis. Aaron, we may have thought, would have reasons not to rejoice on seeing Moses return. And in fact, that implication, that idea of Aaron not being so happy about it is also a voice in the tradition and is drawn out, for example, in the animated film, The Prince of Egypt, where Aaron feels like very sort of, what is this guy upstart doing, right? And that's put into Aaron's voice. The brothers had not grown up together. Moses had been adopted by Pharaoh's daughter and raised in an Egyptian palace, while Aaron remained with the Israelites. Nor had they been together during the Israelites' sufferings. Moses, fearing for his life after his assault on an Egyptian taskmaster, had fled to Midian. Besides this, Moses was Aaron's younger brother, and yet it was he who was about to become the leader of the people. Always in the past, when the younger had taken something the elder might have believed naturally belonged to him, there was jealousy, animosity, yet God assures Moses, when Aaron sees you, he will rejoice. And so he did. And the Lord said to Aaron, go to the wilderness to meet Moses, and he went and met him in the mount of God and kissed him. The second clue is contained in a strange passage that traces the descent of Moses and Aaron. Amram married his father's sister Yocheved, who bore him Aaron and Moses. Amram lived 137 years. It was this same Aaron and Moses to whom the Lord said, bring the Israelites out of Egypt by their divisions. They were the ones who spoke to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, about bringing the Israelites out of Egypt. It was this same Moses and Aaron. And that's a passage from Exodus chapter 6. The repeated phrase, it was this same Moses and Aaron, is emphatic even in translation. It is all the more so when we note the two peculiarities of the text. The first is that the phrases, though they sound identical, in fact place the names of the brothers in different order. The first says Aaron and Moses, the second Moses and Aaron. Also, Rabbi Sachs points out that there's a grammatical oddity about the phrase. Both times, the third person singular is used. Literally, they read, he was Aaron and Moses. He was Moses and Aaron. The text should have said they. All the more so since the pronoun they is used in the middle of the passage. They were the ones who spoke to Pharaoh. The unmistakable implication is that they were like a single individual. They were as one. There was no hierarchy between them. Sometimes Aaron's name appears first, sometimes Moses. There is a wonderful midrash that bears out this idea, based on the verse in Psalms, loving kindness and truth meet together, righteousness and peace kiss each other. Loving kindness, says the midrash, this refers to Aaron. Truth, this refers to Moses. Righteousness, this refers to Moses. Peace, this refers to Aaron. The midrash brings proof texts for each of these identifications, but we understand them immediately. Moses and Aaron were quite different temperaments and role. Moses was the man of truth, Aaron, the man of peace. Without truth, there can be no vision to inspire a nation, but without internal peace, there is no nation to inspire. Aaron and Moses were both necessary. Their roles were in creative tension. They worked side by side, each respecting the distinctive gift of the other. And the midrash goes on to say, and he kissed him. The brothers kissed when they met. This teaches that they were equals. A final midrash completes the picture by referring to this week's Torah portion and the vestments of the high priest, especially the breastplate with its Urim and Tumim. His heart will be glad when he sees you. Let the heart that rejoiced in the greatness of his brother be vested with the Urim and Tumim. It was precisely the fact that Aaron did not envy his younger brother, but instead rejoiced in his greatness that made him worthy to be a high priest. And so it came to pass that just as Aaron had made space for his younger brother to lead, so the Torah makes space for Aaron to lead. That is why Aaron is the hero of Tetzaveh, for once not overshadowed by Moses. Who is honored? Asked Ben Zoma. One who honors others. Aaron honored his younger brother. That is why Moses, not mentioned by name, but by implication, is told in this week's Torah portion, make sacred garments for your brother Aaron, to give him honor and splendor, lechavod ul tifaret, as we read this morning. The story of Aaron and Moses, the fifth act in the biblical drama of brotherhood, is where finally siblinghood, fraternity, reaches the heights. And that surely is the meaning of Psalm 133 with its explicit reference to Aaron and his sacred garments. How good and pleasant it is when brothers live together in unity. It is like precious oil poured on the head, running down on the beard, running down on Aaron's beard, down upon the collar of his robes. It was thanks to Aaron and the honor he showed Moses that at last brothers learned to live together in unity. So may it be for all of us. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with the Musaf service, which can be found beginning on page 428. Eliana Moses is going to lead Musaf, beginning with Chatzi Kaddish, followed by the Amidah for Shabbat morning, for the Musaf Amidah for Shabbat, which can be found on page 430, and which we will join together with Eli through the Kedusha, and following that, continue with the individual whispered Amidah, Musaf, page 428.
Yikara v'yikara shemei rabba.
Amen.
Ve'amad yivrach kirutei, ve'amlich malchutei, ve'chayechonu yomechon uv'chayedecho be'Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, ubizman kariv, v'yimeru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach, Yistabach, V'yitba'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitale, V'yitalal, Shemei Kudusha, V'yichu, Leila, Mikol Berchata, V'shirata, Tushbechata, V'nechemata, Damiran Be'alma, V'yimeru, Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Uvokei Tzara. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Metim Atara Le'Yoshia. Mashiv HaRuach, Omorid HaGashem. Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei Metim Berachamim Rabim. Somech Noflim Berofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayim Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevuro, Umido Melach, Melech Meni, Umekayim V'ne'eman atah l'chayot metim. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayei hametim. Naritcha v'nagdishcha kesotziach sarfei kodesh, hamagdishim shimcha ba'kodesh, kakatu al yad neviecha, v'karazel zeh ve'amar. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzavot, Melchol haaretz Kivodo. Kivodo malei olam, Mishartav sholim zeh lazeh, Ayeh mikam kivodo, Leumatam baruch yomeru. Baruch kavod Adonai, Mimkomo v'yifein barachamim, V'yachon am achamachdim shemo, Erev bavoker lechol yom tamid, Ha'amayim b'ahava shema omrim. Shema Yisrael, Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, Vehu Yashmienu Barachamav, Sheni Liene Kochai, Vehu Yashmienu Barachamav, Sheni Liene Kochai. Liot Lachem Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohim, Uvedivrei Kodecha Katuv Lemor, Imloch Adonai Leolam, Elohayach Tzion. Ledor vador nagid godlecha, u'anetzach nesachim kedushatcha nakdish, v'shikhacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed, ki melech gadol v'kadosh atah, baruch atah Adonai ha'el ha'kadosh.
having completed your individual whispered Amidah, please continue davening. We join together for Kaddish Aleim, page 506.
Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechonu v'yimechonu b'chayedechol be'Yisrael v'agalav b'zman kari v'yimeru.
Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach ve'alav me'almaya yivarach.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei nekudesha.
Richu.
Le'elamin kol berchata b'shirata tishbechata v'nechemata damiran ve'alma v'yimeru.
Amen.
Titkabal tzotahonu v'mehon d'chol Yisrael kadam avuhon divishmaya v'yimeru.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru.
Amen. Yasher Koach to Eli for leading us in Musaf. And a happy birthday. The congregation wishes Alyssa Friedman, Rosette Rubens, Farrell Malkus, Jacob Shapiro, Ann Zonderman, Sarah Gavins, Jackie Rowan, Ken Carpenter, Hezekiah Woods, and Howard Levine. A happy birthday this week. To everybody, Mazel Tov. It looks like there are no anniversaries to announce this week, and so we celebrate everybody's joyous occasions. Do let me know during the week if there are a joyous occasion that you would particularly like celebrated, so that we can celebrate on Shabbat. We continue with Aleinu, page 510. Please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'atreinu al'yakser reishit shelo asanu v'harato v'lo samanu k'mishpachot adama shelo sam chalkenu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim V'nemar v'haya Adonai v'melech b'kol haaretz v'yom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo
Congregation recognizes with deep sadness the passing of Bernard Lone, brother-in-law of Yaffa Lone, and Luda Borodolina, wife of Michael Borodolin. our condolences go to the entire Lone and Borodalan families. We also honor with love the memories of the following individuals whose yard sites are this week: Richard Fine, Benjamin Grossberg, Alice Wakesberg, Simon Wakesberg, Sylvia Bramley, Valvo Dubrovsky, Harry Eisenberg, Abe Hausler, Baruch Glock, Bracha Glock, Sarah Glock, Gloria Goldman, Bess Kruppa, Carl Cohen, Emma Ginsberg, Larry Ginsberg, Ethel Middleman, Jeanette Shapiro, Philip Vaccaro, and Herbert Saunders. In solemn testimony to the unbroken chain of faith which links one generation of the house of Israel to the next, those who are mourn and those who are observing Yartzeit now rise to magnify and sanctify God's name with the words of Kaddish Avelim, Mourner's Kaddish, page 512. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'alma divrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'yomechon u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam elamei almayah yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shmei d'kudesha b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechmata, shamiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba mishmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Aseh shalom v'mamam, hu yaseh shalom, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You may be seated. I believe that Jackie's going to offer some announcements.
We have actually a pretty quiet week, a post-quorum quiet week. Tomorrow morning, Rabbi continues his introduction to prayer book Hebrew at 9:30, and on Thursday begins a new session of Back to the Basics. This one is Holy Times. That's Thursday evening, and then it continues on March 11th and March 18th. And the next Scholar in Your Residence is on March 25th, and I think that's it. Shabbat Shalom.
We'll conclude our service with Adon Olam, page 514.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa b'hepso kol azai melech shemo nikra yacharei kichol takol levado imok nora vehu aya vehu over vehu yeh v'tipara vehu echad v'yein sheni lehamshilo ve'achvira v'li reishit v'li tachlit v'lo Vitzor chavli v'etara v'hum misi umanosli v'nakosi v'yom etkra yado afkid ruchi v'etisha v'ayira v'imruchi gevia
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us for our in-person and by live stream Shabbat morning service. It's a pleasure to be in community with you. I look forward to continuing to be in community with you over the course of the coming weeks. Shabbat Shalom. Ellie, I just wanted to say something. Shabbat Shalom. Joe, tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock, yeah. I sent the link. Great. Thank you. And also Yasher Koch on your Megillah reading. There. I was very impressed. You guys did great. Yeah. I'm really hoping that we don't have to do that again. That we're like, next year. It was nice to be able to do that. And it went well. And they like really did this really beautiful thing of like having somebody run the Megillah from house to house so that more people could participate. And so yeah, and actually, so what we did this,